to the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. I am your host, Chris Katulka, and with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the one, the only, Mr. Steve Herzig. How are you, sir?
Well, I put your question into the highball, and you asked me a question. How am I doing?
Yes.
The highball said, you call that a question?
That is a great question, Highball.
What can I tell you? The highball said, who needs it?
The Highball, a gift from Karen Sanborn. Thank you so much for the Highball.
We use it from time to time.
We do. We like to check in with the Highball for any good
Chris,
questions.
I'll tell you how I am.
What?
A robot slaps a kid.
Another one.
We're getting robot crazy. Chris, I've been reading through a commentary in the book of Revelation and by John Lennox. And John Lennox is a scientist, mathematician. He's a philosopher. He's also a part-time theologian.
Yeah.
He loves the Lord. He's got an interesting book on commentary Revelation, and he incorporates how AI might actually fit into it. And so I've been paying attention to AI and robotics and Elon Musk and this and that. Last week we had a robot gone berserk.
I know. I love that, there's like real advancements happening here with robots, and the ones you pick out, the videos you pick out are the what are they called? The blooper reel.
Of course. We're talking about where all the jobs are going to be gone in 5 years. That's what I've read.
Not with your blooper reel.
All I see are these robots gone crazy. One in a pizza parlor going crazy, kicking and killing.
That was last week.
Killing.
Not
That's
killing.
Right.
That was not killing.
Not killing. But if they had a weapon, I'd be worried. And now we have a little kid. This was a dancing robot.
All right, Steve. Well, let me go ahead. I'm going to pull this up here, and we'll show you the dangerous dancing robot that slaps a kid in the face. Here we go.
Dance demonstration meant to wow a crowd quickly turned into a frightening moment for one young boy.
Right in the face.
The incident unfolded on March 21st in China's Shanxi province.
Look at the lady eating
During
a sandwich.
live
It
public
doesn't
show.
She didn't seem phased at all.
She is not phased
No,
at all.
that
Hey,
robot-
I don't know that kid. Whatever happened.
All right, well, that was a blooper, but we are seeing robots even in Washington.
In the White House.
In the White House.
Competing with the first lady who has the best walk.
That's right. Who has the best walk? So let me go ahead and bring this up here, Steve, so that we can show Melania Trump, our first lady, walking with an android
Side by side.
with a robot, and here it is right here.
Who's walking better? She's a professional.
This isn't even AI. This is real.
No, this is a robot walking.
Ay, 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 ay.
Now, she's walking 1 foot in front of the other. That robot can't do that.
Why it is, isn't it?
No, side. Look at it's walking side. Look at her legs and look at his legs.
Oh, I see.
See?
And see, you think that this is a male robot right now, but it's about to talk. And it's a female voice.
I don't attach
Gender?
not a gender, oriented person here.
When it comes to robots.
But I thought it was two ladies walking, or I actually thought it was a male robot. I don't know if you could be a male robot, but wait till you hear the robot's voice.
This is the painful part. Everyone's standing, and we have to wait like a minute, it feels like, for
Look
this
at those
robot.
squares are moving around.
Ay, ay, ay.
Thank you, First Lady, for inviting me to the White House.
I don't even know what's going on. Steve, I don't know what's going on anymore. I don't know what to think about this stuff. I don't know what to feel about it. I feel like I grew up in a world where there was a telephone that had a wire that went to the wall and you could call people. And I remember you couldn't even call out of your state unless you got charged. Now here we are 40 years later, and there's a robot walking with the
White House
in the White
with
House
the first lady
and having a conversation, and everyone's acting like everything's okay. I don't.
Who knows? Well, let's go from the ridiculous to the sublime, Chris, because this podcast is sponsored by Equip, and we're grateful for Equip, and we want to give people free stickers. We believe that stickers that support the nation of Israel, that support the Jewish people, that outline praying for the peace of Jerusalem is something that creates great conversation and opportunity. And we want to equip people to communicate that truth. So how do they get these 50 free stickers?
It's really simple. All you got to do is text us at
444-444-1948.
And when you text me, I'm going to send you a link personally. I'll send you a link. And there you can sign up to get 50 free stickers that support Israel and the Jewish people. And you can even find ways while you're there to get involved with Friends of Israel. It's not just about the stickers. It's about discipling, discipleship. It's about equipping you to be able to love your Jewish friends to life, to be able to teach truth about Israel and the Jewish people biblically. And so you can do all that by texting us at 444-444-1948. And Steve, we also have Resurrection Day coming. Passover's coming soon. We're hitting this high season here when it comes to Friends of Israel. Passover season is high season.
I had one yesterday.
Yeah, you did a youth group.
I did a youth group. The old man dealing with 12 to 18-year-olds.
That's 110 of them.
110 of them. We had a great time. People came up and thanked me, which I thought was good. I had the leader, the group leader, who was at his own table with a bunch of guys, and I had him go through much of the Passover. We were eating and dipping all the various things, and he comes up to me at the end. He said, "What happened to the moror?" Moror, the bitter herbs. I said, "What? What do you mean?" He said, "We didn't eat the moror." I was at another table. I said, "How many times did I talk about the moror?" He said twice. He said, "I don't know where I was."
Well, I thought you only had limited time, too.
I did have limited time. I had to do a little editing, but Passover is April 1st, Chris, and we want to equip people with a devotional that they could still get. It's free, or you could purchase one. This one that I have in my hand is the one that you can purchase by coming to foi.org, our Friends of Israel website.
That's for the physical copy.
That's for the physical copy. But Chris, how could they get the free copy?
Yeah, if you want a free digital download of Finding Messiah in Passover, all you have to do is go to messiahinpassover.org. Again, that's messiahinpassover.org. And Steve, I was just looking for a text, and I can't seem to find it because someone texted us at 444-444-1948. And when they texted, they said, you know, we've been listening for a while. Their Bible study actually downloaded the free digital download of Finding Messiah in Passover, and they've been going through it, and they really feel as though it's been a blessing, especially because they do their own Passover, so it's kind of preparing them for it. So you can be a part of that community as well if you'd like to get a free digital download of our 32-day devotional, Finding Messiah in Passover. Steve's wrote in it, I wrote in it, and a lot of other Friends of Israel writers all have a special devotional in there for you following the Passover Haggadah, which is amazing. It's a devotional from the Haggadah. Who would have thought? Which is a very important book that leads you through the Passover story for the Jewish people. So again, you can get that by going to finding or messiahinpassover.org.
Well, Chris, I'm reading an interesting book, especially interesting for United States citizens, thinking of Ben Franklin and George Whitfield, two different kind of personalities, but really their time in Philadelphia. Of course, Ben Franklin, we live outside of Philadelphia, just outside, very historic city. Lots of things that have Ben Franklin in front of it. He has his own museum. He's got a lot of different things going. But Chris, George Whitfield, I did not know this. They didn't have microphones in those days. You know, for me, people tell me, and I think you as well, "Oh, you're talking so loud. You're making me crazy here."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your office that you had here is like triple stuffed with insulation, and I still don't think that quieted you down.
It didn't quiet me or you. You were next door, and I heard you, and you heard me. But what's interesting is George Whitfield, I'm told, in this book, the book was actually written by Randy Peterson, who is the former editor of Christian History magazine. And he talks about the fact that Benjamin Franklin and George Whitfield were the first American celebrities.
That's amazing. For those who don't know who George Whitfield is, maybe he was a part
evangelist.
Evangelist, a part of the Great Awakening.
He was an itinerant speaker, the Great Awakening. He preached in front of thousands, Chris, thousands of people. And in fact, he loved coming to Philadelphia, and he loved talking with Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin didn't buy into Jesus is God. He was a deist. He believed in God. He loved reading the Bible. He thought that was important, but he wasn't a believer. And they often had great discussions. George shared the gospel with
And
him.
you even said to me off air here that he wasn't a fan. Franklin wasn't a fan of the Calvinists.
That turned him off. His father was a Calvinist, and he went to church. He didn't like that. So that's the way it is. The bottom line: why was Ben Franklin turned off? Whether you're Calvinist or not, Ben Franklin, it seems from his own words, I've read his autobiography. It seemed Ben Franklin liked Ben Franklin's way.
Instead of Frank Sinatra.
That's right. And he didn't like God's way. So that's a problem. But it didn't prevent a great friendship. And in fact, one of the meetings I read about in the book is that he preached in front of 6,000 Philadelphians.
That's amazing.
The whole city had 13,000 people. And so Ben Franklin said,
Half the city.
He said, I really want to find out if it's really that number. And in the book, he did the research to show that Ben Franklin actually measured it out where the crowd was from all the square feet and came out with, yes, he did. And he had a voice that was capable of preaching to 6,000 people.
You are the Jewish version of George Whitfield.
I guess so.
That's what you are.
How many thousands did Jesus preach in front of?
Yeah.
So I used to tell the staff here, I know I offend you. I know my voice is terrible.
you.
It's too loud. But just at least you know that Jesus had a voice similar to mine.
That's right.
At least you know that in the DNA, that's what we do as Jews. We yell a lot, but it's not yelling to us. It's only yelling to the goyim. That's all.
All right, but you're saying that from this book, Ben Franklin and George Whitfield were the first glitterati of America.
They were renowned in the world, particularly in the United States, but renowned. Certainly, they were American celebrities. George Whitfield used Ben Franklin as his printer.
Yeah.
Chris, now we have computers and we have AI, which create advertising.
Social media.
But they did that. He was sending out literature all over the place, and Ben Franklin's printing company did it.
So they were washing each other's hands, or they were helping each other
They
out.
had a good thing. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, and it's quite interesting.
100%. So they become the first glitterati, but it's also that they were cutting edge. That was the thing.
Oftentimes, Chris, the church seems to be 20 years behind everybody else. Not all the time, and it depends. I'm talking corporately. There are local churches who are very cutting edge. Chris, the church I was at yesterday had all those machines for giving, and for kids. And the church I go to, they don't have anything like that. So there are churches that are cutting edge, that are right there at the edge, and then there's others who are very traditional. Hey, the Lord uses every local congregation for his glory, but George Whitfield was not afraid to try new things.
Yeah, that's amazing. And he partnered with Ben Franklin to get the gospel out.
Exactly. And so the Printer and the Preacher by Randy Peterson, it's just an interesting read if you're a historian or you like history and you like to know from an evangelical point of view how they interacted with each other. I found the book really interesting.
Well, Steve, I know that George Whitfield was being cutting edge with Ben Franklin and the printing and handing all that out. And you know what? We're trying to be cutting edge here at the Friends of Israel.
We're trying, Chris.
We're trying so hard. And one of those ways that we're being cutting edge is by giving out free online classes so that you can join the Friends of Israel wherever you are around the world. And I do know
we pay for the printing.
That's right. You just got to show up.
Look, you could buy one or get one free.
That's right.
You can't beat it.
Exactly. So if you go to foiequip.org, we want to share with you 3 classes that are coming up that you can be a part of for free. And I'm telling you, we've got people from all around the world that are tuning in, from Australia, from South America, from Canada, US, you name it. They're Europe. They're tuning in from Europe and the UK. You can go to foiequip.org, and there, and on April 9th, our very own Tom Simcox is going to be teaching about the gospel in the Hebrew scriptures. That's going to be April 9th and 16th at 7:30 p.m. In May, on May 14th and 21st, got a great class with Pastor Tommy Nelson from Denton Bible Church, who's going to be teaching Daniel's 70th week for beginners. Steve, I need this because I'm going to tell you, I didn't go into Bible for math, and you need math.
Me neither.
You need math when it comes to...
Once you get a 70 weeks and 7 times 7, and you lose
and then
me.
you're going from this date to that date in the Hebrew calendar. No, this is like a conundrum to me. So we need someone like Pastor Tommy Nelson to help us out here. So you can join that for free May 14th and the 21st by going to foiequip.org. And then finally, by going to the same website, you'll see Dr. Tim Sigler, who is the president of Ariel University. Or I always say Ariel University because there is an Ariel University in Israel. Ariel Ministries, and he's going to be teaching about when your Jewish friend believes. What do you do after that? So again, that's June 25th, 7:30 p.m. You can register for all these classes for free by going to foiequip.org.
Chris, we just talked about the printer and the preacher and how even though Ben Franklin wasn't a believer, they talked to each other, communicated with each other. Well, we have a headline from Fox News. Newsom's wife says evangelicals are pulling us back as a country in resurfaced clip.
You're talking about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
Correct.
Whose wife has, I think she's been making a bit
Jennifer
more...
Siebel Newsom.
And her face, at least, I don't live in California. I'm on the other side of the country here, but I do feel like recently her face has been a little bit more forward-facing, if you will, because I think he's going to probably be running for president. So she's been out there a little bit more. And so recently, Steve, she has said that evangelicals like you and me, and maybe some of our listeners here, a lot of our listeners, our 7 listeners, are pulling the country back.
Listen to what she said, Chris. They're living in this silo. Chris, we're living in a silo, according to her, and this evangelical conservative silo that ultimately is just pulling us back as a country to a time and place where we don't deserve to be. Ay, ay, ay. And we're not going to be. So she's saying they're pulling us back, but we're not going.
Well, she just lost the evangelical vote, which is a big one.
Newsom said, because honestly, young women and fathers of daughters are awake now, and they're woke, and they're not going to let us go back.
You and I chatted about this before the show, and you had something interesting to say.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, you did.
That might be
trust
my
me,
first.
I remembered it, okay?
It's so rare.
That it locked in there. When you had talked about the fact that there's this correlation between anti-Semitism and this kind of rise of anti-evangelicalism as well.
No question. It should be a big concern. The Jewish people and the nation of Israel are the canary in the cave.
In the coal mine.
In the coal mine. And, canaries were used that way to see if it was dangerous, the air was good to breathe or not breathe. Well, historically, Chris, over the last several decades, persecution of the Jewish people is ahead, but right behind it comes the evangelicals, those that believe in Jesus. Happened during Nazi Germany. As much as Adolf Hitler hated the Jewish people and killed 6 million of them, if you were a believer, a genuine believer, Bonhoeffer is a great example. His book was read by lots of people who are become aware of how much hatred honest believers were. It's happening in our own country, Chris. Mm-hmm. And so the Jewish people are ahead. But if they get this, as Islam says, if they get the Saturday people first, not far behind will be the Sunday people.
Yep, exactly. And that's why this is interesting, because this is coming from a voice of Gavin Newsom's wife. And I believe he's going to be running for president in 2028.
He's going to try.
And so this, again, is one of those things where, you got to somehow appeal to all the masses if you're going to try to become president. But it seems as though she's drawing a line in the sand here.
Oh, she's saying woke or no woke.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's saying we are woke. And so the Lord knows he's in charge of governments. He puts people in, and he takes them out. And so we'll see what happens. Chris, the next thing that I came in contact with was there was a women's leaders summit in Tel Aviv. And the reason this caught my mind, Chris, I wanted to ask you about it, is in the description, I'm actually a little ahead of myself. So in the description, she asked a question, and I can't find it now. Where is the woman's... Chris, you got
I have
help
it right
me.
here. I have it right here. Here, you want to take this? Bada bing.
Oh, okay. So, no, but the question that I actually put in...
Well, you jumped down. He went right to the news, everybody.
I did go right
We were supposed to be moving into what's it called? Genesis minutia.
I found it. I did. I went. So we lost all 7
I
of
know
them,
they're
Chris.
gone now. Maybe they'll come back.
But in the actual summit, they say this. Participants heard personal stories from women who broke the glass ceiling.
Oh, that's right.
Exchanged knowledge and best practices, and networked with a select group of top-level thought leaders, innovators, and Chris, disruptors.
Yep.
That caught my eye.
Yep.
The ladies' summit meeting, the women's summit meeting, is talking about disruptors. What in the world is a woman disruptor?
Well, I don't know if it necessarily applies to just women. I think it's a personality type. I would say
I have never heard of that before.
you are one. You are a disruptor.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you are
What
because you go in and you're okay with just saying, I don't know if that's the way it should be. You know, there are just people when everything is working, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. There are people. I think I can be a disruptor. You know, where you kind of are sitting and you're listening to everybody, and everyone's agreeing, and you go, I don't think that's going to work right. You know, you're disrupting, or you provide some type of new way of doing something that disrupts the way the old thing was. So. To apply it to a woman, I think is very apropos. To say that I think a woman is a great.
Be careful here, Chris.
I know a great way of disrupting in a pot. I think it's.
I guess I've lived with a disruptor.
Yeah, no, she's a disruptor.
She's a disruptor.
Yeah.
So that's good. I guess it's good.
Well, I'm just saying there's a positive. It sounds negative, but it is actually in the environment that we live in today, especially the working environment. A disruptor is somebody who is thinking forward. It doesn't mean it always works out, but if you just have everybody saying yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, at the end of the day, nothing might get done.
So you need to think counter to the group.
You're a disruptor. You're disrupting. Yeah. So when something comes in, there was something, if you have some type of app that you use on your phone all the time, and then all of a sudden there's a new one that pops up that does the same thing, but it's different and it's better. It's disrupting the system.
Well, Chris, I'm at an age now where I don't want to be disrupted.
No, you don't want to be disrupted, but you are a disruptor.
Well, there you go.
Do you ever get?
The older
It's an
you
internal
get, the
struggle.
more you want to just stay the course.
No.
Just stay the course.
No, you know what? You know why you're. It's a good thing. You do have a disrupting personality, but that's not a bad thing, though. It's not.
Okie dokie. Whatever you say.
It's a good thing.
Okay. Well, Chris, we have been going through minutia in Genesis.
Yeah, you disrupted your own layout here.
I went out of sequence,
Yeah,
and
see what
I'm
happens?
the producer.
Yeah, and you're the disruptor. See, you disrupted it.
I disrupted myself.
Ay, ay, ay.
Minutia in Genesis. And I went to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 1, Chris, and I asked this question. Why did God create the heaven and the earth? The why question. What? Why? God is, right? God is. He was, is to come. He's beyond time. He sits out of time. He doesn't need anybody. He doesn't need anything. He is fine by himself. God is. And I accept that. He is the great I am.
Alpha, Omega.
He's everything.
Aleph, Tav.
So why in the world did he create the world? What was the reason? And does there even have to be a reason?
This is the opposite of minutia. This is the question of questions.
Why did he do it? Well, my immediate answer is I don't know. I don't know if anybody really knows because I think it's a layered answer. Mm-hmm. But one of the answers is if you believe that God is, that he is everything, that he is outside time, that he needs no one, nothing, he is, then we who are his creation, even asking the question is crazy. He could do what he wants to do, and I'm sure it's for a good purpose. And in fact, after I say I ultimately don't know, incorporated into the very Word of God. In the beginning was the Word, right? And the Word was with God, and the Word is God. Was God, is God. Okay? So that's the quote from John, chapter 1. So as we think about that, it unfolds in multiple verses. Chris, I even put them in our notes, our production notes.
Amazing.
I didn't do an exhaustive search.
Did you disrupt the system to put this in there?
I don't know what I did, but ultimately, the verses, I'm going to ask you to cover some of them, but the bottom line is, if he is the great I am, doesn't need anybody, creates the heaven and the earth and everything in it, ultimately, he does it not because he has to, but because he wants to, and he wants glory. He wants, ultimately, glory comes to him. And so the human side says, well, then he must need admirers. No, he doesn't need anybody, but he wants to do it. And so if he wants, when you became an adult, Chris, you knew you were an adult whenever, or at least you matured enough in your family, when you didn't have to ask your parents, I'm going to the store to get a coffee, or I'm going to get a sandwich. You went on your own. All of a sudden, you're a big macher.
Oh, it's amazing, yes.
You have this sense of independence. You matured. And we think in terms of humanity, and God created us because he wanted to. He wanted to.
He had the freedom to.
He has whatever he wants. So I looked up some of the verses. Why don't you cover them and maybe give a short comment on some of those things?
Okay, Isaiah 43:7 says, everyone who is called by my name, whom I have created for my glory, I have formed him. Yes, I have made him. So God is saying, I created them for my glory, and I know them intimately because he formed them individually. Everybody's formed individually by God's creative hand. He's the way he makes all things work for his glory. All right, the next one. The heavens declare the glory of God. Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. His creation.
So you just look up, a really good story that I heard from my wife, whose uncle and aunt served in the Chad 100 years ago. This is a long time ago. And as he was preparing at Moody Bible Institute to go to Africa as a missionary, the leader of one of the Bush tribesmen was going through a difficult time. They had this tribe, and he was in charge, but he was asking questions that he couldn't find answers. And so two things were going on at the same time. When Alice's uncle graduated Moody, takes a boat and goes all the way to Africa, meets some people there, and they direct him to this guy who's in a tree. Chris, he's in a tree. My wife's telling me this story. And he comes there and he says, why is he in a tree? They said he won't come down. He was the chief. He won't come down till somebody tells him about how all this happened. How did this happen?
That's amazing.
They had false gods in their tribe. He said, this can't be it. He was making him crazy. He said, I'm not coming down. So Alice's uncle, prepared at Moody, comes at the same time this guy's in a tree and tells him, bring him down, I'll tell him. And he starts off with the heavens declare the glory of God.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the guy becomes a believer.
That's amazing. Just like he shows up and boom, someone's a believer.
That's the providence of God and the workings of God. Here you have a frustrated head of a tribe. He's trying to figure out, what is all this about? And God's working with an Australian who comes all the way to the United States in Chicago at Moody Bible Institute. And so while this is going on here, this is going on there. He takes a boat, comes there, and bada bing, bada boom.
That's amazing. All right, here's another one. Every valley shall be lifted up, every mountain shall be made low, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Isaiah 44-5, Steve.
Amazing.
Okay, I am the Lord, that is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to carved idols. Isaiah 42:8.
Listen to what Jonathan Edwards said. I thought this was a great quote when he's talking about God. He says, it is evident by both scripture and reason that God is infinitely, eternally, unchangeably, and independently glorious and happy.
Yeah, that's
that he cannot be profited by or receive anything from the creature. So what does he say in Isaiah 42? I am the Lord, that's my name, my glory I give to no other.
Well, I think it's funny listening to Jonathan Edwards write, because I just think about how independently God is glorious and happy, and then all of a sudden the Israelites make a golden calf and he goes, ay, ay, ay. You know, there's that, the tension of dealing with his creation too, you know? How do you, in God's kindness and mercy, he relates with them, and his grace, he constantly is patient with us and long-suffering with us. But at the same time, you know, there he is. I love Jonathan Edwards. He's independently glorious and happy until what? Until they go, this is where you brought me. This is freedom.
Who needs this service?
That's who needs this trouble. That's
but
right.
yet in Isaiah 44, verse 23, it says, break forth into singing, O mountains, O forest, and every tree in it. For the Lord has redeemed Jacob and will be glorified in Israel. In Israel.
That's right.
That's why we give out stickers.
100%. Isaiah 44:23. For my name's sake, I defer my anger. For the sake of my praise, I restrain it for you. I have tried you in the furnace of affliction. For my own sake, I do it. For how should my name be profaned? My glory I will not give to another. Isaiah 48:9-11. I'm noticing a lot of similarities here with Isaiah, Steve. It seems like Isaiah, as the prophet, does the work of carrying that responsibility to talk about why God created everything and how his creation and his glory fit into the big picture of what he's trying to accomplish on earth.
Well, you know, Chris, many evangelical scholars call Isaiah the fifth gospel. Mm-hmm. It's much longer than the four gospels
together,
but it is the fifth gospel, and there's so much packed there. There's prophecy concerning the person and work of Christ, but then we have these many verses which really answer the question of God and wanting glory from his creation.
Well, here you have one here from Proverbs 16:4. The Lord has made all for himself. So
that's a short, great answer.
Right to the point. Romans 11:36. Now we move into the New Testament. For from him and through him and to him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. Colossians 1:16. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. Colossians 1:16. And then finally, Steve, Hebrews 2:10, for it was fitting for him, for whom all are all things, and through whom are all things, in bringing many sons to glory, to perfect the author of to perfect the author of their salvation through sufferings. Hebrews 2:10.
So, Chris, we asked the question, what? Why? And I said, well, off the top of my head, I don't even know. But the text at least gives us, I don't fully understand to bring glory to God, because we as individuals are just in a little silo ourselves, right? We can't see the big picture. I just gave you a story that I love to tell. And when Alice told me how God's working around the world, long before we have computers and all that, we're able to attach. God does that all the time and connects people that you would never think could connect. And he does it, why? For his pleasure.
100%.
He just does it for his pleasure. And so what do we learn from all this? Well, from the very first verse in the Bible, which takes for granted there is a God, we learn he's powerful. He could do whatever he wants. He could wipe us all out, Chris, if he wanted to. He's powerful, but he's also personal.
That's a big one.
That's a dynamic. He's all powerful, yet he wants personal relationships.
Well, that's the part of the creation, what we're talking about here, why he would create, because it almost seems a little egotistical that a God would want you to he would create you to glorify him.
That's right.
It almost sounds like, well, so that my job is just to glorify you, you know? But in the reality is that God over and over again throughout the scriptures has shown something even more important, is that he thinks about us even more than he thinks about himself.
Exactly.
That is a tough thing to wrap your mind around.
And he didn't have to do it that way.
And he didn't have to do it, that's
He didn't have a particular need to do it. He wanted to do it.
That's a big one because as Philippians chapter 2 says, that Jesus emptied himself, you know, after being in the presence of God, the triune God, he emptied himself. Why? Taking on the form of a servant. Why? Because he cared more about us than he actually cared about himself. That's God. He cared more about us than himself. And that's even communicated throughout the Torah. The Torah is a law that demands that we think about other people before we think about ourselves. That's the character of God. So even though you have this all-powerful, all-knowing God who created us that we might glorify him, it almost is it's a personal relationship because he actually cares about us deeply.
So we know he's powerful and we know he's personal. As a result of being personal, we then say he's worthy of praise.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we have a whole 150 Psalms which talk about ultimate praise to God. We have the last book in the Bible, the book of Revelation, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which is loaded with praise, bowing before the throne, offering praise, not just humans doing that, but angelic beings doing it as well, all acknowledging that all glory, honor, and praise goes to the powerful but personal God. It's hard for us, limited as we are, to fully comprehend the great advantage we have now and will later with connecting with the omnipotent God and communicating personally. Even though we're going to be in a group, Chris, he's going to communicate. He does it now through his word. Imagine what it will be like when it says you're absent from the body and present with the Lord. He's going to be communicating. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, he doesn't say absent from the body, present with a blob of people worshiping God. It's absent from the body, present with. It's as if it's one-on-one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How's he going to do that? Well, we don't know. We just don't know. But we know that he's capable of doing it.
Yep.
Which just boggles the mind.
And you said, have you said already he is full of mercy?
No,
as well?
I didn't. That's the next one.
Yeah.
So he's personal, he's powerful, he's worthy of praise, and he's full of mercy. Hasn't he demonstrated mercy in our lives?
100%.
Yep.
All right, so Steve, that was not minutia. That was deep. That's some deep stuff there, okay? A question that has boggled the mind of even a tribes person out in Chad sitting in a tree wondering, why are we here right now? And bada bing, bada boom, your Alice's cousin, uncle shows up.
He shows up, and he's equipped to answer the question.
Equipped, I like that. Go to foiequipped.org and sign up for our upcoming classes so you can be equipped to share the good news of Jesus by going to foiequipped.org. Become an equipper, all right? All right, Steve, that was fantastic.
Well, now, Chris, we want to talk about to hyphen or not hyphen. That is the question.
Okay, this is a big one, though.
To hyphen or not hyphen, that is the question. I'm not great in grammar. My wife is very good in grammar. The hyphen, the little that you have, between two words. And anti-Semitism is written without a hyphen and with a hyphen. And so Deborah Lipstadt asked the question about the hyphen. And should the hyphen be in? Chris, what does she say?
Well, you're talking about the hyphen in between anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Okay, and so Deborah Lipstadt she wrote.
She's a professor, Emory University, been for decades, just amazing scholar.
Yep, and she wrote in a 2019 book, Anti-Semitism Here and Now, the right side of the hyphenated word can stand alone as a word in its own right, such as in anti-immigration, there's a hyphen there, anti-trade, there's a hyphen there, or anti-taxes, there's a hyphen there. But Semitism, there's no such thing.
What is a Semitism?
Yeah, that's right.
There isn't anything.
There is no such thing as a Semitism.
That's right.
Well, we talked about this in the minutia from last week when we talked about the Table of Nations, because Semitism comes from the word Shem.
Exactly.
And technically, there's a lot of Shemites. It doesn't necessarily just have to be the Jewish people. Everybody from basically the Middle East and that area are Shemites. So how can you say anti-Semitism is just targeting Jews when it actually is talking about a whole group of people under one of the sons of Noah?
Well, the way to find out is to find out from the guy who invented the word.
Look at you. You're a disruptor. I like it.
You just find out who this guy is, because you're right. Nobody denies that Jewish people come from Shem. That's biblical. Yes, we agree. But there's a whole group of us.
Yep.
It's not just Jews. And so when you see anti-Semitism, the idea of being against all the Shemites isn't true. Yet anti-Semitism...
That would be some of the Arabs, too, who would be anti-Semitic.
Exactly. So the argument that Deborah Lipstadt is making, and which we agree, there should not be a hyphen. The word was created by a man by the name of William Marr at the end of the 19th century, 1890, something like that. And it was strictly against Jews.
Yeah, he didn't like Jews. He did not like them, and he didn't like the idea of the word Jew hatred. He didn't like that. And that's why he reformed the word to anti-Semitism, to broaden it out more and to almost give it this kind of, sometimes when you give something a word, it feels more academic.
Yep.
And when it feels more academic, it's something you can talk about more without feeling the actual what's the word I'm looking for? Like, without, you can say the word, but it doesn't have the feeling that comes with it. So you can say, oh, anti-Semitism is horrible, but what is connected to anti-Semitism? Genocide of 6 million Jewish people, the persecution of Jewish people for centuries, the pogroms, the Spanish Inquisitions, even
October
today.
7th.
October 7th, the murder of innocents, the taking of hostages, all of these things. I actually think that the word anti-Semitism is a bad word. I'm not bad in the sense of characterizing what it really means. It should just be Jew hatred, as it originally was.
I totally agree, but I want to make sure our listeners know that we do not believe in the hyphen.
We don't like the hyphen.
We don't like the hyphen.
No, we like to make sure we take that hyphen out, and actually, I always like to define it. Like whenever I do the radio, Steve, if I'm doing a message on anti-Semitism, I've read a stat before that said there's a vast majority of people who don't even know what that term anti-Semitism means. And so why would you use a word that most people don't understand? And so it's better to just define it all the time. Anti-Semitism is targeted Jew hatred. And that's
100%. And Chris, that's a great segue, because William Marr would not be happy with where the Jewish people are as it relates specifically to Israeli Jewish people, because Israel is able to defend itself. Mm-hmm. We wish and would desire, they would say the same thing. They want to be peace. They want to be peacemakers, peace livers in the Middle East. But Iran has been a thorn, not just in their side, but as we're seeing, which, by the way, I didn't know if you knew this, Iran said our missiles can't go very far. They're only limited to the direct Middle East. Do you know that they shot down missiles that had the capability of going to England, because the U.S. has some airplanes there, jet fighters, which means they could go to Paris, they could go to London, they can... What is happening now in Israel, regardless, or in Iran, regardless of where you are in the war, even if you're against the war, you should be happy that the capability of launching, God forbid, a nuclear warhead in Europe would have been pretty devastating.
Well, everybody's saying they're not a threat to us. They're not a threat to us in Europe and the UK.
Until they were.
And then all of a sudden, a rocket got launched from Tehran down to Diego Garcia, which I believe is a British military base.
It is.
And that was 4,000 kilometers. And if you just do a little simple math, if you do 4,000 kilometers in a circle, boom, it's hitting London. So
Oops, we didn't tell the full truth. We do have the capability.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised?
Not at all. But Chris, it's a great segue because Michael Oren, who is interviewed by Hugh Hewitt, and Chris, the first minute that when he starts, Hugh introduces him, but the first minute, I think, is such a great help to us to understand exactly what's happening.
All right, here's Dr. Michael Oren.
We're good. We're hanging tough. I thought about this moment because, as you know, here before I was ambassador, before I was in Knesset, I was a historian, a military historian, and I want to say unequivocally that I can think of just almost no example certainly in modern history, perhaps in all of history, with the one exception of that year in 1940 where Churchill battled alone during the Battle of Britain during his darkest hour, where all of history, where regional peace, certainly in the Middle East, but even world peace, hinges on one man, hinges on one person, that is the President of the United States. And if that president stays the course and stands up in the face of tremendous pressures, and believe me, in Israel, we know the pressures he's under, then everything in this region can change. We're not talking just about the peace between Israel and Lebanon, peace in Israel and Syria, but a strategic arc that extends from the Mediterranean to the shores of the Ganges, under a Pax Americana, where Russia will be humbled and China will be humbled, and everything can change. This is one of these extraordinary hinges of his history, where it can go in two directions, but we ardently hope it will go in this direction. Tonight, the president has talked about a negotiation with the Iranians, and I'd be remiss in not saying that there's not a certain amount of nervousness in this country. We've gone through an extraordinarily difficult month. We've all been under fire, including my family and everyone's families. And we hope that during these negotiations, as President Trump indicated tonight, that our fundamental interests will be addressed, which is the end of the Iranian nuclear threat, the end of the Iranian ballistic threat, and the end of Iranian support for terrorist groups who are seeking to destroy us. And we hope also that our army can continue to battle Hezbollah in the north, because frankly, if Hezbollah is not beaten back, then we will lose the Galilee. We'll lose half this country. People simply will not go and live there. So it's close to an existential threat for this country. So it's just this extraordinary moment. I really don't know any.
So Steve, that's an important word from Dr. Michael Oren, who is a part of the Israel Advocacy Group, and he's talking with Hugh Hewitt there. But again, a lot of this hinges on the vision of Donald Trump right now, because I was watching a video the other day during the election, the presidential election. Someone from, I think, 60 Minutes was interviewing Kamala Harris and said, who is the greatest threat to America today? And she even admitted Iran is the greatest threat to America. So they all know this. Everybody knows this. And the reality is that nobody wanted to do anything about it. But they wanted to try to do it through diplomatic ways. But again, I can't stress this enough. In the Middle East and and in Persia, life is different over there. They don't think in terms of diplomacy. They don't think in terms of shaking hands and making deals that last a long time. There's got to be something practical behind it. There's got to be something more. And so Donald Trump, I've heard a Palestinian say the one guy that could probably bring some peace to the Middle East is Donald Trump, because he doesn't think like a president. He thinks like a businessman. And everybody in Israel and everybody in the Middle East they're businessly minded. What's the practical way to bring peace to this situation?
Well, Chris, I don't know if you have it lined up, but you sent me a video of a Muslim who was testifying. I'm not sure in what group he was testifying for, but when you look at him in his Arab Muslim...
He's from Kuwait.
Okay, so he's from Kuwait. He's in his Islamic garb, and he's saying things. He's got his keffiyeh on. He's got the beard going. You would think, when I first saw him, I'd say, oh, what's he saying bad about Israel? Chris, I think this is typical, actually typical, of what the majority in the Middle East who are not Israeli, who are not Jewish, who think of what's happening in this war, this skirmish, or what's it called?
A war.
Well, they don't like to call it a war. They call it something else. But either way, he was pretty articulate in the way he was supportive of what's happening.
Well, and he's defending Israel to the United Nations. Which,
okay, it's in the United Nations.
Yeah, this is the United Nations. So this comes from a Kuwaiti, but you'll hear his story.
But
it's
Chris,
very fascinating.
before I hope you play the beginning, because first they play little tidbits of people are saying Israel's committing genocide. They're doing this. They're horrible. They're horrible. And then you hear his words.
Here it comes right now.
I ask the UN, when will you end the ritual of condemning Israel? Is it not time, instead, to learn from Israel how to defeat terror, defend free societies, and pursue peace?
I declare open Agenda Item 7 entitled Human Rights Situation in Palestine.
Israel has institutionalized a systematic regime of torture with a genocidal intent against the Palestinians.
The policy of extermination, of genocide, crimes against humanity and war crimes.
Occupation, settled, colonial, apartheid, and genocide.
Colonialism, oppression, and apartheid.
Colonization.
Colonized.
I now give the floor to the representative of Ingenieur du Monde.
Mr. Chair, I heard the term colonizers, but who are the real colonizers? A Jewish kingdom ruled in Judea for 1,000 years. We, the Arabs, took this land. Who Arabized Egyptians, Phoenicians, Persians, and Amazics? It was us, the Arabs. So why does the Council enshrine a lie by keeping a permanent agenda item on Palestine while ignoring the indigenous heart of Israel returning home?
I just have to.
I love their faces.
I know. It's zooming in on the faces of all those voices that you heard before of calling Israel colonizer, calling Israel genocidal. They're all coming from the kind of countries where you might, if you have an idea of what's going on in the world, you're going, wait a minute, should we listen to these people? One of them was from Iraq. One of them was from Kenya. One of them was from, I forget what the other country was. There are a few of them where you go, like, I mean, these are not.
Angola. There was Angola there.
Yeah, like there are these very Muslim countries that have a pretty heavy hand against its own citizens. And so, you hear all these voices, and now you hear from this Kuwaiti who's telling his account saying,
he's telling the truth.
Who were the colonizers? I think we're the ones that stole it from the Jews, not the other way around. So anyway, and you could see all their faces in the UN saying, who is this guy?
They're not happy.
Nope.
Let us be clear who is actually defending our sovereignty. Today, Israel is fighter for peaceful nations, freeing Gaza from Hamas and saving Iranians from the Islamic Republic. What Israel is doing to the IRGC is a gift to humanity. There are 57 Islamic countries and only one Jewish state, Israel. Despite the ongoing hateful desire to eliminate it, Israel has not only survived, it has thrived. I don't believe in miracles, but this is one. So I ask the UN, when will you end the ritual of condemning Israel? Is it not time, instead, to learn from Israel how to defeat terror, defend free societies, and pursue peace?
It's truth. It really is truth.
It is. Chris, we go from that to Apartheid Week. You have actually experienced, you went several years ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago, you went to a conference that was in Philadelphia, in celebration of Apartheid Week.
That's right.
And it's been going on every year. There is a meeting of people who meet because of apartheid, particularly apartheid against Israel.
That's right. And when I went there, they were celebrating BDS, which is boycott, divestment, and sanctions. And I took a class, Steve, on how to do BDS.
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh, I went in. It was hilarious. You would have laughed your head off because the main theme of the BDS class was, if you're going to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, choose one thing. One. Okay? And they all go, okay, one thing. And they go, well, here's the thing, though. I went into my doctor and I said, this medication that I take for my skin rash comes from an Israeli company called Teva, and I'm boycotting it. And then the doctor said to me, well, it's the only company that makes this skin rash cream, so I can't boycott that. And then another person goes, I'm boycotting Motorola because of this, and I'm boycotting, and the lady's losing her mind. She goes, pick one thing, please, just pick. No, and they couldn't come up with one thing. They decided, let's boycott the whole world. Why? Because a lot of the things that we use on a daily basis come from Israel. So the class ended up being bupkis because the teacher couldn't accomplish the goal, pick one thing. So,
Well, it doesn't matter. They still meet every year. And this year, it's from March 21st. It's just concluding March 28th. And it's another apartheid week. And there you go.
I've never met an apartheid country that has Arabs and Christians and Muslims and Jews and Baha'i and secular and black and white and you name it, all together in one group, going to school together, serving in the military.
You could go to Israel and get that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand that, so Zaygaza.
Yep. Well, Chris, in the midst of what Israel's going through, we just heard from Michael Oren. Chris, in the old days, Fiddler on the Roof days, my grandparents lived in a shtetl. And Chris, when they got married, when they wanted to get married, they would call a yenta. Mm-hmm. A yenta was the person who arranged the marriage. And the whole Fiddler on the Roof story is about a family and his 8 girls who have to get married and the yenta. It's hilarious. It's factual for the time. But, Chris, we're living in a digital age.
Here, I have it up here on the screen, Steve. Okay, boom.
That's really good because we are living in a digital age. And so the headline from there is the one that I found. Find your chosen one. So we're the chosen people, but now find your chosen one. Over 3,500 weddings go through this website.
That's amazing. So Yenta, what is it? JWed.
JWed. Isn't that? It's amazing.
How many weddings?
Oh, over 3,500. I just saw you put it up there for a flash moment, and it was 4,000. When I saw it, it was 3,500. Boom! They're getting in the middle of war. It doesn't make any difference.
They're just getting married.
That's right. Find your chosen one. Go to JWed.com, and there you go.
All right, Steve. I think we got time for one more. I think we should do the comedian. What do you think? Should we do the comedian or the John Lennon one?
Oh, John Lennon.
Okay, John Lennon. All right, so yesterday I was scrolling through some X or former Twitter, and I came across this.
This is amazing for those Beatle fans who might be out there.
That's right. If you're an old Beatles fan and you enjoy the music.
John Lennon in particular.
Well, John Lennon runs into an Israeli one day.
No, the Israeli runs into John Lennon by going to his house.
Forces his way into John Lennon.
By itself is hilarious.
That's right. So this is the story of a man who actually teaches John Lennon his first Hebrew song.
And only that we know of.
That's right. And they actually recorded it. So here we go.
I'm here with my grandfather's first cousin, Akiva Nof, who in 1969 taught John Lennon 2 lines of Hebrew. How did you end up hanging out with John Lennon?
My favorite is this moment when he starts talking because she's all excited and then he comes in with that classic Israeli let me tell you a story. Here we go.
I knocked on the door. Someone opened a slight door and said, yes. And I said, I'm from the Voice of Israel. I would like to interview Mr. Lennon. I shouted that Lennon would hear it.
Very easy for us to do.
Then nearly shut the door by nodded his head for no, no, no. And from inside, Lennon said, the Voice of Israel, come in. So I went in. I asked him if he knows a song in Hebrew and if he would like to sing a part of my song. It was
this is called chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
Number one, Voice of Israel. I mean, I guess he's interviewing. He wants to interview John Lennon about something, but instead he's like, hey, you want to sing one of my songs, Lennon? One of those famous singer-songwriter.
Hey, he had a sharp kepi. He did. Because Lennon sings. So I want you to sing a song, only in Hebrew.
And my song.
That's right.
And my song. I love that.
2 lines. ירושלים נשבענו כולם, לא נפקיר עוד מכאן עד עולם.
Before we listen to the song, what was it like hearing John Lennon sing your song in Hebrew?
This is the only time that John Lennon sings in Hebrew. So, of course, it was very exciting.
Of course.
Let's have a listen.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Translated, Chris.
Yeah. We will not abandon you from here and forever. Jerusalem, we have all sworn for eternity. We will not abandon you from here or forever.
They're repeating the line twice.
That's right. His song. I thought that was good, Steve.
I thought that was good, Chris, and it's great John Lennon was able to sing in Hebrew. So, Chris, that takes us to...
Yiddish word of the day, everybody. Yiddish word of the day.
I asked the question at the beginning when we were talking about minutia in Genesis. Why did God create the heavens and the earth? So if you were Yiddish, you would say, Farvos?
Farvos?
Farvos? Why? Why? Then we said, what are the things we could learn? Vos? Vos. What? So why? Farvos? And what is vos?
Okay, those are our Yiddish questions. That's a classic Jewish idea right there.
Exactly.
We're just asking questions.
That's
okay?
right. Farvos?
Farvos, that's all we're doing. We're just here for the why and the what, okay?
That's right.
We won't ask the how, but the why and the what. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for being a part of the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. Be sure to text us at 424-444-1948. And when you text me, I'm going to send you a link so that you can get 50 free stickers that support Israel and the Jewish people. So important today, especially with the rise of Jew hatred. That's anti-Semitism without a hyphen. So be sure to text us at 424-444-1948. And also, don't forget to go to foiequip.org because there you can sign up for all of our upcoming classes. And you'll also see a link on there where you can get your free digital download of Finding Messiah and Passover. Again, that's Finding Messiah and Passover, our 32-day devotional. Don't forget to do that. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you next week.